Welcome back to Sunflix Nowadays. I'm aiming to make a case for the film known as Sky High, free in 2005. Spoilers ahead. Take care and keep safe. The movie opens with Ken, the son of two superheroes oldsters. His parents are the Commander and Jetstream, the strongest superheroes in an exceedingly world filled with superheroes. Will is anticipated to at least one day be a part of. Them in saving the globe today is Will initial day at Sky High, a high school for superheroes. Before school, Will father receives a decision from the city manager and should leave with Will mother to travel save the world before he leaves. However, he lets Ken apprehend that almost all of the scholars at the high school will solely have one superhero parent to not like Will, therefore Will shouldn't brag an excessive amount of when his oldsters leave. Will activates the news on the TV along he and his childhood friend Layla watches his parents destroy a large mechanism rampaging through city after the battle. The commander takes the robot head. Features a memento consequent scene. It shows Will and Layla mature the varsity bus. Despite needing to keep a coffee profile, Will get special treatment on the bus as a result of his oldsters when the last student boards. They complete. This isn't a standard bus. The bus drives off a ramp and plummet, inflicting all the scholars on board to scream in fear. However, suddenly it transforms into a plane and flies away. They quickly attain the high school, that is floating high within the sky. The school location is secret, therefore on stop billions from discovering it, the freshmen see several alternative students on field using numerous superpowers. Some students are flying, one has optical device vision and another will freeze folks. A cluster of cheerleaders welcome the freshmen to field with a cheer routine at the tip of the routine. The new students understand it, only one cheerleader with the empower to duplicate herself. However, not all the older students are therefore welcoming, like each school. Even Sky High has bullies. Two bullies come back up to the group of freshmen and demand a $15 student fee from every person. Luckily, the co-ed body president Win gets them to depart. Ken is in love with Win initially. Sight, a lot of to get this dismay. Before the freshmen will begin classes, they need to undergo power testing to work out if they're going to be heroes or friends. Every student goes on stage and performs their Commonwealth for the teacher, who then decides that cluster they belong to. One own stage. Will has no selection, however, to confess to the teacher that he doesn't apprehend what his superpower isn't basic cognitive process. The teacher drops an automobile on Will, who drops flat, simply in time to not get killed. Eventually the teacher believes him and therefore assigns Will to be a sidekick within the nurse workplace. She tells Will of the serious risk that he may ne'er develop superpowers. Very similar to Sky High's busman when school. Ken tries to inform his father the reality concerning not having powers. However, before he can, his daddy takes him into the secret symptom. The key symptom is dicked out a scientific instrumentation in souvenirs from his oldsters' greatest battles. Seeing these, Will not has the courageousness to tell his dad the truth, and meanwhile, the mechanism head from that morning battle sits on a chair within the secret sanctum. Through it, two mysterious people watch Will and his dad from a monitor at school. Consequent day, the scholars began to find out concerning being facet kicks. One student needs to grasp once they get to choose their superhero names. However, it seems that supercilious kicks don't get to decide on their own names or costumes. These are all set by the hero they get paired with when graduation. It turns out that their teacher was once the commander aforementioned Kick, and he was thwarted to search out that Ken oldsters had ne'er once mentioned him to Will. Students begin to regulate a life as they learn to use numerous gadgets corresponding to nets and utility bells, how to transform costumes and cause who makes friends, and learning concerning their powers and learning about their powers and learning about their powers and learning about their powers. His daddy is incredibly underwhelmed. Tells Ken there's nothing wrong with being a friend once he tries to recollect his own sidekick name and he tries to remember. He can't. Will finally gathers up the courageousness to inform his dad that he is scientific to the present. Enrages his father, who slams his paw against the room counter, inflicting all the things thereon to leap up. His dad straight off blames the teacher who gave the test, thinking he solely created Caney sign kick out of pettiness. Dad picks up the phone to decision the varsity to complain, however he too angry to manage his super strength and breaks the phone into pieces. Will finally gets through to his dad telling him it not his teacher. He simply doesn't have powers. His dad urgently assures him that he will one day, but Will tells him he doesn't care as a result of he proud to be a facet kick underground. His mother and Pop try to grapple with their disappointment. Eventually they said that being a family was even as vital as being a superhero family. Consequent day, the varsity bullies are mistreatment their powers to choose on the busman despite not having any powers. Will stands up to the bullies at lunch. The bullies get their revenge, they trip Will, inflicting him to dump his food onto Warranties. Warren is that the son of a superhero handy villain and Will's dad was the one who placed Warren daddy in prison. Angry by what is going to did, Warren incessantly throws fireballs at Will, who dodges and tries to flee by locomotion below tables. Once Will spring rise to defend him, Warren turns his rage on them. This upsets Ken, who lifts the table Warren is standing on into the air, revealing his super straight. Will toss the table and Warren into the ceiling. As Warren charges toward Will use as a fireplace fire extinguisher to place out his claims. The principal arrives and puts them each in detention. Will tries to form peace with Warren. However, it their daddies who are enemies, not them. However, Warren didn't wish to make peace. Once he returns home, his dad is joyful that he has super strength, giving him associate degree Xbox as a present. Through the mechanism size, the mysterious pair plot their revenge. Consequent day, can transfer to categories for heroes in his first class. Will get to figure with once on building a freeze ray. However, he proves hopeless with technology. Technology therefore when uses her powers to create it for it. At lunch, Will is sitting with Gwen and her friends who don't permit his alternative friends to hitch as a result of their solely facet kicks. Feeling unhealthy, Will raise Layla to the paper lantern, her favorite eating place, to form it up to her simply. Then he hears his friend business for facilitate. Turning the corner, Will finds the bullies stuffing his friends into lockers. Therefore he builds them, let his friends out. Will friends make a bed with the bullies? If Will win the sport of save the voters against them, they're going to leave the facet kicks alone for the remainder of the year within the game. Mannequins are placed into dangerous situations. The team of bullies are villains. Will and his partner are the heroes and should rescue the mannequins before they get destroyed. Will is paired up with Warren as shortly because the game begins. Will simply keep obtaining knocked around by the bullies. He eventually gets bored with it and punches the floor. Causation: the villains flying. He quickly ties up one amongst the villains, whereas Warren is throwing fireballs at the remaining villain. He yells at Ken to save the soul thanks to win the game. However, right then the villain began to frolic Warren began to exacerbate as the villain power sucks away his oxygen. Seeing Warren in hassle, Will arrange to save Warren. When saving him, Will so is Warren at the mannequin, saving it from being destroyed. Ken is cheered by the scholars. Once Will come back home later, he finds Win in his room. When stays for dinner and therefore the entire family has a good time. When invites Will oldsters to the homecoming dance because the guest of honor. Meanwhile, player is sitting alone at the paper lamp looking forward to Will when she been there for a while. One amongst the waiters comes up to her. It seems to be Warren. Well, later in Warren speak and acquire to grasp one another. Will raise when to home returning and she or he says, yes. Consequent day, Will meet Layla at the stop instead of being angry for staying in her room. Lily needs to raise Ken to the dance. However, before she gets the prospect, Will with excitement tells her that he going with Win. Put on a smile, Layla pretends to be happy for him. Afterwards, she lies and says she aiming to homecoming with Warren. Will is upset by this news as a result of he views Warren as his enemy. Angry with Will, Lay listens with Warren at lunch and tells him they're going to home returning along. Before Warren will say much, all of Layla friends sit around him. Warren blithely agrees to promenade once he realizes what quantity it'll trouble Will when faculty that day Will accidentally holds a celebration at his house, whereas his oldsters are gone throughout the party. Will takes Win into the key sanctum while there's stimulation. One amongst the souvenirs in secret taken within the background later discovers the party out of the blue and walked into the house wherever Celtic deity chases her away. When Will finds out what happened, he gets angry and dumps When then kicks everybody out of his house. Later he calls late to apologize. however she doesn't choose up. He leaves a message for her to satisfy him at the paper lantern, but she ne'er shows Okurant. The night of home returning can sit within the secret saint hymn, whereas his oldsters move to the dance when grooving through his parents' previous yearbook. Will notices the similitude of one of these, and realizes that the ray gun from his dad assortment is missing. He facilitate from the busman who takes him to the varsity. Meanwhile, at the dance, Wen announces herself because the most powerful super being at the varsity. She uses the ray gun. She steals from the key symptom to show all the superheroes into babies, Gwen friends, and therefore the school bullies like everybody within the gym. However, Warren within the sidekicks manage to flee into the vents, can finally attain the school and apologizes to his friends for being a jerk and he corridor late, and her friends battle against their nefarious classmates, whereas Will goes when Gwen holding a baby commander in her arms when reveals her plans to boost the babies, therefore she might produce a superhero school for villains. But initial she needs to destroy Sky High for not recognizing her genius. It seems that within the past, throughout a battle with the commander, once was changed into a baby by her own weapon. She waited a few years to finally get her event when Ken shows up. She smashes him through many walls. Layla and her friends defeat their nefarious classmates, however they decide that GYWN had sabotaged the school anti-gravity device. That means it might fall out of the sky if they didn't escape. They'd all die. The Facet Kicks work along to induce to the device. Throughout his fight with Wind, can get thrown out of window and falls off the floating field. A flash later will seems within the window fly mistreatment both. His powers will defeats Wind outside. The busman defeats Wind friend who was attempting to steal the babies away. One seems her to advise remotely, and therefore the school begins. Ripped of the sky will straight off flies below the varsity and uses his super strength to raise up. However, it absolutely was an excessive amount of for even will super strain, even as it's just like the school will crash into the earth. His friend manages to deactivate the device, permitting the varsity to regain its anti-gravity capabilities. Can flies the school back to the sky and therefore the yield the babies upturn to traditional, and the fast